Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, 28th of February 2023. My name is Adam Nowak, and welcome to yet another episode of Disruption Talks, where we invite top experts to discuss digital acceleration, winning strategies, innovation, and scaling products. My guest today is Marcin Walas, Director of Engineering at Mews. Hello, Marcin.
Hi, hello, Adam.
So let's give our audience a little bit of context. Maybe Martin, you will introduce yourself very briefly.
Sure. All right. So yeah, as you mentioned, my name is Marcin, and currently I'm working at Mews. Mews is a Amsterdam-based property management system for many hotels right now. We are working only in the hospitality industry. Currently, also we are expanding into a little bit of restaurant management as well as our latest acquired of Bison, and we are trying to disrupt the hospitality industry the right way.
Awesome. We'll get to the to the disruption part in a bit, but let's start with you, Marcin. So you started as a developer back in the day. Right now, you are a director of engineering. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey? How did you end up in Mews?
Oh yeah, so my journey is a bit unusual because I started very early on when I was still at the university. And at the time, I didn't had any mentor or any figure like that in my life to kind of show me the ropes of being a software developer. So I really had to push myself, harder and harder to basically become better at software development. So I basically in the very early stages, I decided that I wanted to work at every industry possible, and that I thought that was a good idea to have the most experience available to me at the time. So I started with Java, which was obviously the university's choice, and later on, after a year or two, I switched to PHP, and that was the big shift for me because as you probably can imagine, these are two different worlds within the programming community, and basically I wanted to do the web development because I was the most interested in pixel perfect design and things that nature. So after that switch, I tried to work from the manufacturing industry. I started with LG Electronics, then I moved to banking industry, and at the end of my PHP career, I was doing e-commerce as well as software house development. It's called like that. So I was basically more service focused. And after my PHP path, I decided that I wanted to go deeper into web development, and that was the rise of Node and Node.js and React.js and Node.js at the time. So I decided to switch to that framework, and yeah, since then I was hooked up with the React and JavaScript world. And yes, after my development career, I decided that I wanted to be a manager, and that was also another yet big step because going from the development again to the managerial path, I knew very little about how to be a good manager, and I'm for sure in my early stages of management, I wasn't so sure, probably showing some kind of an imposter syndrome, etc. And I had to yet again kind of climb the ropes of manager this time. And yeah, that was very interesting actually journey, because you could already see, because as a developer you only see, let's say, half the picture, right? And then there's another half that connects more towards business orientated decision making processes. And at the time I figured out that if I ever become more advanced and director or manager or someone higher up in the company, I want to be basically the best manager I can be that means the manager I never had, actually. And that's also another funny part, that as a developer you only see the decisions that are kind of outcomes of whatever is happening around you, and not always you're aware of where are these decisions being created and being innovated. So I think to this day many of my initial thoughts of my career are still valid, I would say. However, I think the best lesson of all my career I got is that you should never settle, and you should always try to raise the bar higher and higher. Nowadays, you have many other opportunities that I didn't have in the beginning, which is very, very good, such as mentoring programs or any other actually external help you can almost hire on the spot. So I think today's world is definitely more encouraging for developers to become something more than just development, something outside of the of the box called development, software development.
Cool. I will ask you a few questions about the development part, because we have some developers and people from engineering in our audience as well. You mentioned Java and PHP. These are a little bit like older language, like old school, I would say.
Mhm.
Then you've jumped to the cool kids ship and started with front end technologies, like you mentioned Node.js and probably React, all of that, and all the new frameworks. I have this things that popped in my head some time ago, because when I was studying and so on, when someone was doing PHP, it was like, meh, PHP is like bad and so on. We have better languages. PHP does not so a good job. I mean, it works, but meh. Did you? You were a PHP developer back then. Did you feel this kind of vibe from the community or from your colleagues? Like, did you feel being bullied maybe at some point?
In the beginning, I think that was really quite obvious that when you move from Java and let's say university-oriented environment towards web-oriented environments and languages like PHP, that was quite obvious to me that there's something different between these two environments and communities, and definitely I felt that. But however, I never felt like I have to describe myself as or define myself as a developer of certain language or certain technology. I always kind of was more biased towards technology agnostic, and and that's where how I felt. However, I understand that this industry was quite cruel in the very early days of my development path, and but nowadays I think it's more the lines are more blurred. It's more people. I think people already see that there is way more towards the development than just being Java developer or PHP developer or any other certain technology developer. I think the world now is showing quite strongly. I'm not gonna lie, with the use of probably JavaScript technologies, that development can be very wide perspective, and it's up to us wherever we choose to develop it.
So what you've just said sounds like a great encouragement for all the people who like feel a little bit shy because someone critiqued publicly the language that they've chose because of like the university or something like that. And it's not about the given specific language. It's more about being a developer, being the person, and expanding the knowledge. So yeah, that's good.
Exactly. At Mews, for example, with all the developers I manage, I always tell them, go outside the box and be bold, actually, and don't be afraid of stepping to the unknown, actually. And this is something that as well is kind of integrated into my managerial let's call it style, because I feel like we should see the other part of the picture. Like if someone is a JavaScript developer, definitely it's a good experience for him to take a look at how backend looks like, how how the API looks like, and what are the processes that make these APIs. Not necessarily they have to become a backend developer, but it's just a good experience to see the full picture from your point of view. As well as going outside of the development process and actually grabbing something that is maybe towards more leadership or managerial path than development path.
Mm-hmm. And were you one of those developers who read all the blog posts and try to implement whatever they've read on the following day?
Not really.
Not really.
Because the blog post for me are always, or any other external knowledge I can get, is just an input, right? So I put it through my filters and I look for the implementation rather than just creating something for the sake of creating something because someone else wrote about it. So I always looked at this new, let's say, solutions or anything that I could found on PHP or then later on JavaScript, is that I always put it from my field and I say, how can I make something out of it? Meaning, how can I implement that in any of the products I'm creating, or in any of basically to the benefit of my customers.
The reason I'm asking is because like you did this change to management, and probably some things look much different than they looked from the individual contributor perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in a front end world where there is a new framework every week,
Mm-hmm.
and there is this like huge urge to like try new things, but still you have to manage the product and so on. So it's not that easy to follow this path. So maybe tell us a bit about the platform you are responsible for, because platform we can understand in many multiple ways, and everyone has their own definition. Tell us about what is the platform you are managing and how do you define it?
Okay, sure.
What do you do?
So maybe let me just a little bit back, and maybe I'll tell you something about Mews in general, and then I'll go into the structure of Mews. So Mews is a, let's say, hospitality disruptor, as I said before. We are a new kid on the block, relatively speaking, because Mews was founded in 2012, and since then, that day, the main focus was to help the hospitality industry and become a leader and become a true innovator through many modules that Mews has. So Mews became not only a PMS but most likely a platform for the hospitality, for the hotels, and for anybody else actually that is interested in the hospitality industry, because through our marketplace we are also managing a lot of third-party libraries and so forth, so on. So Mews, as of right now, is in center of hotel management process. Like I mentioned also before, last year we acquired Bison POS, and that, in my opinion, that is quite one of the most exciting integrations that Mews offers right now, because Bison is very innovative in terms of managing hotel, restaurants, etc. So that's actually I would say that's very, very good partnership, and very I would say very innovative ways of reshaping how the hotels operate in all aspects, because ultimately what you want to do is to provide the ultimate guest experience, and then with that comes all the processes that guests actually are encountering at your property. So Mews in general is created out of two groups of developers and managers. One is targeted more towards the PMS itself, product, and the other one is targeted towards the developers of Mews, which is platform, which is where I am involved with. However, there is a little bit of a twist with that, because usually when you talk about platform teams, they usually are orientated around DevOps and infrastructure, and the whole concept platform as a product is about basically self-service solutions. However, at Mews, we took it to the next level almost, and integrated front-end and back-end development within platform as well. So we not only have infrastructure and security, but we also have front-end and back-end development. Given that, we had to figure out how to make it happen, because now you have front-end developers on platform and front-end developers on the product side, right? And we have to figure out how we can work together in a very efficient and productive way. So, like I mentioned, one of the concepts that we took as an initial concept was platform as a product, and and then apply the front-end development on top of that. So now, whenever we, for example, want to create another instance for the developers in another environment, we have streamlined pipelines through infrastructure, through security, to the front-end development, and this way we can basically on demand almost spin up any development and environment with a certain framework on top of it in just a matter of minutes almost.
Cool. So let's dig a little bit deeper. So we know the mechanics a little bit. We know a little bit about Mews. Mews as a company. So from what I've heard and read, it has a specific culture, and you are very proud of the culture inside Mews, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about this part as a user, and
Sure.
then tell me how does it translate to your values in engineering.
Sure. Okay, so Mews, also from the user point of view, like you mentioned, is very proud of our overall processes. Let's call it like that, right? So whenever you join Mews, you get the feeling almost out of the box that something is different at this company. It's not just yet another software SaaS solution company, or software house or vibe or orientated company. It's a different company, because all the managers at Mews care about the environment they create. In my opinion, there's certain let's say idea behind that, because I think the environment we create should be two-way stream, meaning the individual contributors working at Mews give something towards the company because they work at Mews, right? And they work towards our greater good, let's call it like that. So the company should give something back, and that something that we give back is the very high transparency and alignment around our culture. So there's no top-down push of decision-making processes. Every decision we make is a conscious decision of all parties involved. So going through that, you can see as a user that now you have an impact on the product itself ultimately, because if you can find in the buy-in from your managers, then things change, and you can literally say that you have an impact on the end customer experience with the platform. And that's something that we always wanted to create at Mews, and that's something that was successfully actually created. And I feel like everybody at Mews is quite proud of it, because not only you work with the top level of people actually, and top level of software, but also you have this environment that cares about you, and that's the ultimate goal for my side, for example, as a manager, because I don't want to have people that have to go to work. I would like to manage people that are smiling, on Monday morning when they have to go to work and start this discussion. And that's something that is very, very true to the core of Mews, and that I don't think it will never ever change. So I think that Mews is still, on one hand, is still a customer-centric company, that we deeply care about the end customer, our customers and their customers, and on the other side is also very people-centric company, whenever everybody can have their input into decision-making process.
Can you tell me some examples from like your team, from the engineering team? Like, do you have some rituals around this customer centricity, for instance?
Yeah, of course. We have, from our users' point of view, we try to always show them how our customers react to the product, to the PMS. So, for example, yearly we host an event called MewsCon, which is a conference for all employees. And on that conference, we show various, feedback from our customers and how they react, with the platform, and and of course the vision and the creation of the next version of Mews, let's go like that. And that's something that I think is very unique, right? Because like I said, this is about making the strong bond between your employees and your customers. And whenever they see each other through transparent walls, right, almost, that means you're doing something good because everybody understands each other. And then alignment is something that is very deeply integrated into our ways of working almost.
We have one question from the audience about the
Sure.
product itself. Zosia, can you bring it up? Okay. So Małgorzata asks, hi, does Mews also support managing the hotel's employees, scheduling, time tracking, etc.?
Yes, Mews actually has a lot of modules, and one of them would be the employee management module, when you can actually see, what you can actually schedule, everything from what the hotel does, and managing the time tracking and scheduling and the events on the hotel property itself. It's available from Mews.
Thank you. Of course, if there are any questions from the audience, please raise them, write them down, and we will bring them on the screen and discuss if possible. Okay, Marcin, let's talk about challenges a bit from the engineering standpoint, because like I'm an engineer, you are an engineer, so
Yes.
let's use this opportunity and talk a little bit about this. What is like the main challenge you are dealing with right now, if you can share like?
Okay, so like I said in before as well, many of my initial thoughts as a manager, or who the manager is actually, right, were around how to make our processes more efficient. Because from the development point of view, we have many tools, right? If you have like code inspectors, you have all the performance libraries that can measure absolutely everything, what you do as a developer. But now if you enter in the managing world, and you don't have code anymore, right, you have people that you have to manage. And now it's a little bit more tricky, because there are no tools that will tell you, this person is performing on this level and the other person is performing on the other level. You have to create these tools yourself. So the most challenging, I would say, problem that I think will be still with me for many years to come, is how to make high performing teams usually. And these high performing teams should not get demotivated while they are performing, right? That's the let's say, that's the point where we want to be. So right now I'm very much focused on how to make the processes more efficient, yet more performing, without the burnout of people, or anything remotely related to pressure, because I don't really like that word at all. And right now I'm at Mews, I'm trying to create a framework that will set up this environment. So the framework itself is not about control or only on limiting anybody. The framework is about enablement, because as a platform, we are a group of enablers, basically, towards product developers. We are not a software house inside the company. We are not body leasing company inside company, right? We are the enablers, and we should be thinking about ourselves this way. So moving forward, this framework that I'm talking about is to basically set let's say a common interface from platform and product and design and any other party involved, basically. And the interface should tell you that this, almost like a public about me page for every single team. So whenever they could create something like that, everybody will know exactly what they are working with, and who they are supporting, and who is their customer. On top of that, if we throw data-driven decision-making process, we can start measuring metrics, and then where the development part of me comes into place, because whenever you see a bunch of numbers, you want to compare them and to measure them. And that's what we do. That's what we are focused on. So we have product-centric metrics, customer-centric metrics, because the customer, like I said, for every party involved will be different customer, right? So when we have customer-centric and product-centric metrics, then you compare them with the development performance metrics. You can measure them out of your development processes, and overall you will get quite a big portion of view what's happening actually. So from the idea to the product implementation and to the customer usage, you can measure absolutely everything along the way, and I think that's something quite challenging right now, but yeah, we are on a very good way to be fully operating like that, and I would like to really see that happening in the future as well.
So we've mentioned working around the client and around the product, but actually we have an interesting question from the audience about it. Zosia, can you bring Tomasz's question here? Okay. So Tomasz asks, how do you ensure that the front-end team works effectively with other teams, such as the back-end and design teams? Because you still have to cooperate together, right? So
yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Is whenever, if you look at the company, right, you have product-centric developers, you have platform-centric developers, and you have designers in between, let's say, right? And you have also other teams like security, quality, and everybody involved. So I don't look at them as isolated, silos of a group of people. They should be integrated within each other, and then actually there's where the success lies. So whenever they are overlapping with the initiative, they should be able to drive that initiative to the success. Given that, and given the questions about front-end teams, is whenever we have a new initiative at Mews, like we want to have new module, for example, and that module requires some kind of work. And first and foremost, we have to identify where are we, what is our success, to visualize the end goal, the North Star, if you will. And that I'm very big on that. I like to visualize stuff and show people where are we going and what does it mean that we are successful. So whenever we do that, then we actually using our this framework I was talking about, we can see which team of each group would be involved with. So you have, for example, platform engineers that will be creating some kind of a library usually, or tooling, or any other enhancement towards product, and you have product developers that will be implementing whatever was created on platform for them into product. And like I said, with design, we have design system, and I'm also involved with design system of Mews. So with design system is whenever we have to be very specific about what we are going to create and what will be the ultimate guest experience with that feature. So designers and design system is basically our first step to create our visualization of success. So they are involved in the very beginning, and towards our cooperation, they are making the designs, and then later on we are implementing that into design system, and then product. Actually, at the end of the day, product gets two ways of solutions. One is the design from design system, and the second one is the library or tooling that front-end developers created. So this framework of cooperation actually says that we should start early on together and then split the work towards our asynchronous working streams, and they can be multiple of them. They can be backend involved, security, infrastructure, anything that you need to drive that initiative to success. And then through high alignment, because they should align between each other very often, we get the ultimate success and the ultimate implementation.
Thank you. There is a follow-up question from the audience about the question from Zosia. Zosia asks, how do you approach user experience and user interface designs in front-end development? You've partially covered this one, but tell me so I better understand the audience.
Sure.
So Mews provides a platform which is like one platform from everyone, and this it has one design and so on, or is it like customizable for every customer of yours?
No, right now Mews is a platform, and we have the Mews design, which is
Mm-hmm.
quite a big of portion of the company right now, and yes, and that's how Mews looks like to the end customer.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think this question could also be related to platform itself within Mews, which is because user experience is also targeted towards different group of people. For example, for platform engineers, user experience will be the product developers' satisfaction of the tools they are making. And also with the designers, it's very important that Mews has the Mews experience and Mews feeling. It's not like Mews is not a software that will have a bunch of other modules that are created out of third-party libraries from npm. No, it's not like that, because we care deeply about the guest experience and user experience and customer experience as well. So Mews has Mews experience, right? And that's actually very crucial to us, because whenever we do, we should make sure that this experience is not, is not broken down. It's not that someone else, would create some module that does not feel or look anything like other modules at Mews. So that's actually quite specific to Mews, that we as a managers, that's our role here, to make sure that this framework works between each parties involved, and second of all, that we kind of sell the same experience toward the customers. So if you look at the user interface design and front-end development in general on platform, we have, like I said, a lot of metrics targeted towards product developers, and we basically measure how they feel that whatever they are implementing in product, does that feel still like a Mews, and is something wrong with that, etc. So that's our approach to to basically have ultimate data-driven decision-making process. But for that, we need metrics, and we put metrics absolutely everywhere and measure every single outcome and output also from our work.
But Marcin, is it really possible to have this like when you are recruiting someone, you have this like culture fit, and of course you can somehow ask specific questions and try to like measure it. But at the end of the day, it's more about this feeling. So is it really, you can say by looking at those metrics, that this Mews experience is an output of some metrics you gather, really?
Yeah, because you can have hard metrics and soft metrics, and usually when you combine these two, you can feel like you can get the let's say the point of view, right, of your customer. So what we are doing at Mews also is, let's say platform teams are making libraries for product, and product implements that into PMS, and then it goes to the end customer, right? So if you tie up your success metrics as a platform engineer with the end customer success, also you can take it to the next step and actually tie up with the sales and see that how much of income that module generated because you, for example, changed tables or changed forms in the PMS. So that's what we do actually. That from platform engineers, they are one of their success metrics is the end customer success, and that is measurable by NPS, ENPS scores, and many other tools that you can implement there. And then you can see the whole picture, because if you have development metrics, if you have your customer, which is product developers metrics, then you have end customer metrics, and on top of that, like I said, you can throw sales metrics. You can see that there is a common ground here almost. Like you can see the pattern here within all these numbers and all these approaches you do. So that's how we kind of recreate that yes, this is still Mews and this is still Mews experience, because if this does not provide the Mews experience, you will see that instantly in these metrics that do be something off. That, for example, some module is very on some modules people spend too much time looking into, and user disengagement is one of the metrics we have, right? And so forth, so on. So it's you can really dig into that deep and get all the metrics. And like I said, with the high transparency and alignment we have at Mews, it's quite also not easy to obtain, but it's quite obtainable, that we can actually connect with multiple teams and get the ultimate metrics, and they get the ultimate picture of the ultimate goal of what we do, and that's behind every initiative we create at Mews.
That was very nice. I think that's going to be a source for many people here. It can serve as an inspiration actually. So very nice. One thing. So as a platform, you have to make decisions and priorities probably. And
Yes.
can you tell me some examples? Can you tell us some examples where you like the team felt like there is something to do for the developers, but then there was a product decision and you had to make something for the product instead of like developers. So
Mhm.
a little bit here. And was there anything that from the hindsight they feel like, yeah, it was actually a good decision to focus on the customer rather than this specific thing which we wanted for
Yeah.
our code to be better and
Yes.
faster and
Yeah, that's always, developers, from my observations, they always want to pursue the technical excellence. And that's fine because that's their environment, right? They want to be the best at what they do. And I understand that completely. However, there is a middle ground here, right? So whenever we have any initiative, right, we do at Mews, we try to develop new module or upgrade the new module, right? Like I said, Mews is on the market for 10 years. There is some periods of rebranding, redesigning, etc. involved. We right now we are all only looking at what's the best for our customer, right? Because like I said, that's the ultimate success goal. If the end customer is happy, whatever the hotels are providing to him. So at Muse, I think we have like I said, we have a lot of talks around how this initiative should look like and where should we take it to what's the basically stopping point for developers stop pursuing their technical excellence and start doing start focusing more on the customer experience with Muse. And that's I think that's the point where actually we take a look at this and what we want to do here is to provide the highest quality possible within some certain time frame, and also the highest technical implementation possible. So I think we are quite good at this as well. And there is, like I said, the high transparency gives you the glimpse of how the end customer looks at the application. And I think developers also see that, and they see that sometimes it's good to let it go a little bit and focus more on the design, rebranding, and implementation of design system, etc., rather than pursuing some very high advanced technical implementation towards that feature. And yes, and then they end up with a happy customer basically, right? And also, of course, we have many other initiatives at Muse that allows developers to become go and chase that basically technical excellence. And that's what all managers also encouraging. Like if you are really deep into something, awesome, right? Go ahead and bring it to the company and let's talk about it, because it's not about, from my perspective, developers should not be limited to, let's say, only one company they are working. If they have many other ideas outside of Muse, let's bring them to Muse and talk about them. And we are all experienced people at Muse, so you can get many other insights already to what you are building, and that's fine, because that's what we actually encouraging to be bold and to be very proactive in your community as a developer.
Mhm. Can you tell us a little bit more about how does it look like? So let's say, if you, of course, if you can share, let's say I have a great idea. Do you have like a board for gathering ideas? Is it rather on one-on-one with a leader, or do you
Mhm.
have like town halls where you share something like that? Can you tell us how it works?
Yes, so it evolved from being basically one day per week, spent on your side project, and we call it Side Project Wednesday. Now this is like kind of evolved more into one-on-one, and if you have a good idea, let's bring them in, and we have lunch and learn sessions, and that's where we utilize. If you have something cool to present to others, let's hear it, let's see it. And of course, within my families, I'm the point of contact for that. And they basically we have one-on-one sessions, and also like bigger sessions once per month. And definitely we talk about everything related to their careers and outside of Muse as well. Because like I said, I don't focus only on Muse. This is one part of it, there's the other part that we talk about is basically about life and about how to approach things, and other stuff, because myself, I'm involved with many other startups and ideas outside of Mews as well, and I try to also share that knowledge with everybody I work with, to maybe see something from a different point of view, or approach something that they thought is not approachable, or give a talk somewhere. That's also a topic that we discuss. We have a very strong urge to kind of travel outside of Czech Republic and Prague, and basically that's what we do. That's the community management at Mews, and I think they are doing excellent job at this, because they are not, again, they are enabler. They are not top-down decision making party. They are enabler of encouragement, I would say, for people that want to showcase something out of their own career path.
So that leads me to a question. I will ask about this community in a while, but you mentioned that you do some things outside of work, also in startups, as long as NDA allows, of course.
Yes.
But recently you've joined a mentoring program. Is that
Yes.
right? Tell me, why did you do that?
Well, that's a very kind of like a tricky question, because it's not why I did it. Maybe it's because maybe the question is why so late. That's one of the lessons learned. I think connecting to the community is very important, and it's not I don't view it through a lens that benefits me personally in any way, right? It should be about how I can connect to people, and how I can share the knowledge with them, basically, right? So what I see from that is that it gives me higher sense of understanding of how people approach software development, and how people approach management in software development, because they are, of course, connected with each other. They are very close to each other. However, I don't think they are that I don't think they are the same, actually, in terms of how people think, and how people view certain things as a processes, or as mentoring others, for example. So that's why I decided to start up the mentoring mentorship program with Mentor Cruise. And I think that's a very good thing to do, because, like I said, it widens your lenses on the community, definitely.
And you're giving back to the community, which probably helped you at some point in the past, right? So that's also a plus. So let's talk about the community in Mews. How companies and Mews on having this Mews examples, how is it involved in like giving back, in like sharing? You've mentioned some talks and so on.
Yes. Yeah. So Mews actually encourages everybody, like, individually, to share their knowledge across the community. And like you mentioned, that you are giving something back to the community. That's also one of actually the points of my one-on-ones. Whenever I started, as a manager at Mews, I said that yes, that we should be caring about the community, right? And that is good to give back and to the community. So right now at Mews, we have a community management team, right? That basically is in the middle of every talk we do at Mews, and every talk we give. So, for example, Mews will be featured in April on Unfold event, and I'll actually be hosting that event. So that's one of the ways you can see publicly, right? What Mews does is every year we try to be present on some big conference. That's out of the box almost. That's what we do, and that's integrated in our ways of working. And individually, whenever developers would like to, let's say, see the other side a little bit more, or try to personally, like I said, go out of the box of just the development part, definitely, I encourage every single developer to find your favorite community or conference, and go there and try to showcase something. If you need help with that, awesome, everybody will help you. Actually, that's standard. That's not something that I don't even have to underline at Mews anymore. it's a team effort. Everything at Mews is a team effort. We are not a bunch of individuals close in the disconnected silos. We are Mews, and this is how we look like. So the whole company is one big team, and everybody in the company, from guest experience teams towards development and engineering, they will help you, and they will share resources and guide you through how they view certain things. And I think that's something that was built upon many years, even before I joined Mews. And I think that's something very true to the company, and very strong at the company. So that's I think that's a quite unique factor.
And that all adds up to this unique Muse experience you mentioned, right?
Exactly. Because if you approach it in a way that you are all Mews, we are all Mews, that means everybody cares about how the experience looks like and how the experience feels for the end customer. I think that's integrated into empathy. I think there's a high empathy overall feeling, at Mews, into how we work and how we approach things, and I think that's also quite unique. I know it's almost sounds too good to be true, but that's true. You can I hope sometimes Muse will maybe launch some events that will give you the glimpse on how it's inside the company. Definitely, there are videos from MuseCons, and you can see people connecting with each other from the whole company, because company is scattered actually across the whole Europe, and right now we are making the bigger presence in United States. So we have colleagues all around the world, basically. And yes, you can see on these events how we connect to each other and how basically we have fun, because at the end of the day, it's about having fun, and that's how we avoid burnouts in the company, right?
That's empathy is one thing I really like to hear more about, and it's not used enough, I think, in our day-to-day life. So let's switch a little bit to the industry. What do you think is the biggest challenge in front of you as a SaaS company, in the current situation, the market, and in the future?
Good. So nowadays hospitality as an industry is very diverse community. Hotels are getting more and more complex, in terms of how they are being run and how they was expected from their end customers. So, for example, on-demand PMSs simply don't work, and if they do, they are quite limiting a factor towards the hotel's operation. Hotels want to be free out of any limitations and provide the best possible experience, because that's how they care about their clients. So I think the biggest challenge right now is to provide that limitless experience, and that's what actually Muse does, because Muse basically was designed for cloud. Muse is a hospitality cloud, and this is how we view ourselves, and this is how we try to persuade ourselves to the hotels and to other properties that are involved with us, that we are designed to simplify and automate every operation for modern hoteliers, and then at the end of the day, their guests. So that's how we kind of tackle that challenge. But still, the challenge is there. There are many new ways coming out of management, coming each day almost, and yes, and then hotels wants to be a part of that big shift. So definitely that demand correlated with the limitless experience is the biggest challenge, I would say.
Limitless experience. It doesn't sound good on the backend level. I mean, probably there are supposed to be some limits. Can you throw some wild idea that was requested and you have to turn it down, maybe? Or actually, maybe you've implemented it?
Mm-hmm. Well, recently, ChatGPT, came across the world, and everybody was quite shocked of the possibilities of modern AI. And I think one of the recent requests was to include ChatGPT into our ways of working and our product. And of course, we are looking at this. This is not something that we cannot be sleeping on. Definitely not. But I think with the power of AI and the world changing towards more automated processes, there is a lot of to be considered, especially from the security point of view. And that's what actually Mews does and cares about very deeply, because you can imagine, right? We have a lot of properties onboarded at Mews, and security is something that we have to take into consideration with every single decision we make. So that's one of the requests I would say, that that how we can integrate the modern AI systems into Mews and how the Mews is like. So definitely there's a possibility there, and definitely AI has its place in hospitality industry overall. But I think but I think that they should be taken into consideration, security wise and implementation wise. But we are working on some interesting use cases. So probably in the future you could tune up the Mews and see what we did.
Awesome. It would be great to see. There is a question from Tom from the audience. I don't know whether you can tell us a little bit more about the tech stack. I know it's a security thing, but maybe you can throw some names here.
Sure.
Just to give a little bit of understanding.
Sure. So maybe I'll just give you the high level overview, because tech stack nowadays means a lot of things, and we use every modern solution possible on the market almost. But it's every solution like that has its own place. So definitely we are using JavaScript on front end, which is React, and React basically. And on the back end, we are using C#, and everything is hosted on premise so not on premise, in the cloud, within the Azure ecosystem. And yes, and we are every single in infrastructural bit and security bit is integrated within Azure.
Awesome. I think that answers the questions perfectly. There is one more question from the audience, from Magdalena. Zasio, can you bring it up? Okay. What advice would you give to someone who is interested in pursuing a career in front-end development or engineering leadership? So maybe I will paraphrase it a bit. Marcin, what would be your tips from someone who is starting in a similar position like yours?
Sure. So the tips, it would be don't assume too much and try to figure out your own ways of working towards within the company. So in terms of front-end development and then being a leader of front-end developers, it's very important to, in my opinion, to take a look at what they are dealing with and how the day-to-day processes look like, because ultimately the decisions they are making, they are rooted into the process they are involved in, or the process that defines the team. So that's a good tip for the leaders, I think, to digest that and break it down and see where are the bottlenecks basically that holds you back and that holds the performance of the team back a little bit. As they just front-end development career, it's like I think the design is quite integrated nowadays within front-end development, and I think more front-end developers should have the understanding of good design, how good design looks like, because ultimately this is the experience you are providing to your customers. And I'm really big on that. I really like pixel perfect design, and luckily for me at Mews we have brilliant designers, and the design operation team is just putting out some insanely good work. And that's very good. That's what I like, because I like to work with beautiful applications. It's just simple as that. So I think that will be the biggest advice, just to take as a front-end developer, just to take a look at design as well as the React framework or any other framework you're using on front-end development, and try to integrate that into your day-to-day basically operations.
So I will ask a follow-up questions regarding that. Is there anything you do in Mews right now in front and in platform team which gives you this edge? Like maybe you are leveraging particular technology or some, I don't know, framework or some kind of approach that's giving you the leverage, like you are like all happy about the decision you've made that yes, we do things this way, or
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, we are leveraging a lot of tools and a lot of external help we can get. Definitely one of the biggest tools I would say that gives us the glimpse of how things could look is the use of feature flags, and that's something that I like personally as well, because it's about basically comparing and contrasting multiple other solutions, especially within the design and especially with the front end development, and that's actually eases up the work for us very much. So the management and everybody else can see multiple different versions of the same implementation. We can pick the best one out of out of couple, and then start implementing that in terms of backend and front end capabilities. So I think that's one of the biggest tools.
Yeah, feature flag, especially with the metrics you are gathering, like
Exactly.
it's a powerful thing.
Definitely.
Okay, Marcin, I think we are about to wrap up the show for today. We're running out of time, so thank you so much for the conversation. I've actually learned quite a lot. Mews sounds like a really cool company, and what we do for the hospitality. It's a big thing. So thank you so much for being with us here.
Thank you very much. My pleasure is mine here.
Yeah, if someone would like to get in touch with you, how they can reach out to you?
Well, I think the LinkedIn is the best source of reaching out to me. I have many others, but I think the LinkedIn is the single point of contact nowadays for many managers and people involved within the B2B and B2C environment. So yeah, I would say LinkedIn and or find me at Mews somewhere over my email if you can. That'd be awesome as well.
There are some scrapers running, and they have your email definitely.
For sure.
Thank you very much, Marcin. Have a great day.
Thank you very
Thanks to the
much.
audience for all the questions. See you around in a
Thank
bit.
you very much. Have a nice day as well. Bye bye.
Ciao.